Welcome to the National Invitation Tournament. Round 2 from the Carrier Dome as we welcome you to Syracuse. The Orange and Ole Miss both trying to keep their respective seasons alive. The winner advancing to a Tuesday night matchup with either Georgia Tech or Belmont in this portion of the bracket. I'm Bob Wischusen here with Fran Fraschilla. Ole Miss won at Monmouth in round number 1, and Syracuse, well, they played their Tuesday night game Wednesday because of a blizzard here in Syracuse. It may have been snowing outside, Fran, but inside it was raining threes. Andrew White made 7 of them. He has been tremendous all year for the Orange.
Well, he sure has. The graduate transfer from Nebraska, 34 points against UNC Greensboro, and he now has the all-time record for most threes in a season at Syracuse. And for Ole Miss, a guy that you might not have heard of, Sebas Saiz from Madrid, Spain, 4-year player, first-team All-SEC.
Prior to Andy Kennedy's arrival in Oxford, this is a program that had 3 21-plus win seasons in 96 years. He's averaging 21 wins a season. And, of course, Jim Boeheim, it's been quite a while that he's been averaging at least 21 wins a year. They say they're New York's college team. Well, if Syracuse does indeed advance, that means eventually they'll play in New York's mecca of basketball as the Cuse is trying to get to the Garden and make it to next week's NIT Final Four.
And for the Cuse, usually as John Gillen, their graduate transfer point guard from Colorado State, goes, they go. He's got the ball right now.
Torian Thompson gets Syracuse on the board quickly.
Little homecoming for Breon Tyree, the point guard for Ole Miss, out of New Jersey, high school teammate of Tyus Battle of Syracuse. St. Joe's High School in Metuchen.
And the 2-3 zone extends into the face of DeAndre Burnett. He couldn't avoid a turnover in the corner.
Ole Miss, checking in my Synergy Sports Technology, they saw about 350 possessions of zone this season. Probably none quite as stingy as the Syracuse zone.
How hard is it to prepare for?
It is hard because they use it's unusual in the length they use to take away the perimeter.
Tyler Lydon gets his own miss, knocked away though, and here comes Terrence Davis. Sagging back on defense, Torian Thompson to get the steal.
Syracuse at its best on offense. They just play with good flow, pick and roll, don't run a ton of plays.
Gillen sets up Lydon, got caught in midair, 7 to shoot. Thompson tries another jumper. That's in and out.
What they like to do, Ole Miss against the zone, is use a big man to set a ball screen. And there you see it right there, and then just move it quickly to the open man, post up inside.
That 3 comes up well short from Terrence Davis.
Be a good zone offensive team, Bob. You have to get the ball deep in the lane first.
This is also the first trip for these players to the Carrier Dome. And this is not an easy building, I would assume, as Lydon seals inside and scores. Depth perception-wise for these Ole Miss players that have not played in a football dome this season to get their shooting stroke on track?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's an issue, and Andy Kennedy yesterday at the shoot-around, you know, he was playful with his players about playing in a dome. Of course, in the past in the SEC, the Georgia Dome has been the home of the SEC tournament, but not recently. And there is a depth issue, and we'll see how it plays out for Ole Miss.
Well, no depth issue for Terrence Davis if you get a clear path to the basket. Gillen will attack. That's shut down by Sherman-Avicius, but an offensive rebound. Torian Thompson has 4 of Syracuse's 6.
Yeah, the young man from New York City has had a good freshman year for Jim Boeheim, especially on the offensive end. He knows how to put the ball in the basket.
Sherman-Avicius with a chance for a 3-point play.
I want to say that. Eustace Sherman-Avicius.
You practiced it efficiently before the game.
Watch this pass inside. This is what we're talking about. Don't rely on jump shots early against the zone. You have to get it inside. And although the zone is tricky, Bob, it's probably the worst zone defense that Jim Boeheim Syracuse team has played in recent years, and there's a good reason for that. 4 new players in the starting lineup this season. 2 freshmen, 2 graduate transfers. It takes a while to learn. Now, Ole Miss will change their defenses, and you'll see a lot of zone today.
Gillen with a floater.
John Gillen has had a monster season. 43 down at NC State.
Saiz, soft touch from the elbow.
And that's about his range. He'll occasionally jack up some threes, but he is known to be a great rebounder. You see a little 1-3-1 zone right now. They'll play 2-3. Firmanovich is at the top.
Extra pass to the corner to White. Offensive rebound. Leiden wanted to throw it down, lost it, and now he'll go to the line. And he knows he missed a chance at a thunder slam. Well, Ole Miss trying to, in the world of SEC football, build a basketball program, and to Andy Kennedy's success, they have had, or to his credit I should say, they have had more success in his 11 years than you can make an argument they previously ever had.
Oh, there's no question. 11 straight winning seasons. He's the dean of the SEC basketball coaches. He's
football coaches.
Exactly.
It's hard to believe he's the longest tenured coach in the SEC in either sport.
Well, it tells you a lot about the longevity of coaches in the league. But it also says something, in all honesty, to what a great job he's done. How about this? He's the 18th winningest basketball coach in the history of the SEC.
Although unless you get teams to the NCAA tournament, it goes largely unnoticed as Neal lines up a 3. That's a little too strong. What do you think's holding Ole Miss back in that regard?
Well, you know what? It was facilities. They just built a brand new arena, and quite frankly, in the SEC, despite the fact, by the way, they're having really good success in the NCAA tournament, still making that transition to everybody in the league being good in basketball.
Rasheed Brooks is able to tie it up with a 3.
You think about it, Bob. Back-to-back national titles at Florida, 06-07, Kentucky. Now all of a sudden, South Carolina getting an NCAA tournament win last night. First one since 1973.
Tyus Battle can't answer. Brooks looking for 2 in a row. Here comes Tyus Battle. Battle floats one. Nice reverse by Tyler Roberson off the feed from Battle.
Tyus Battle, the freshman, has had a very, very good season. Had a couple hiccups with some illness, but when he's been healthy, Bob, and particularly lately, playing his best basketball of his freshman year.
Line drive jumper is there for DeAndre Burnett. Now, we haven't seen many fouls. You can see each team has 1. But when we hit the under 10-minute mark of the first half, the fouls will reset to 0. We'll explain those experimental rules that they're using for the first time in the NIT. They like to try things out. Line drive 3 comes up short, and it's saved by John Gillen. And they are going to basically 4-quarter foul rules without it being 4 quarters on the clock. As Leiden, that's a brick.
And it's basically FIBA rules. In FIBA basketball, when you get to the second quarter, you start all over again. Cullen Neal, what a good story, Bob. Mom and Dad are here today. Young man who played for his dad, Noodles Neal, at the University of New Mexico. We'll get into his story. He made an interesting transition, transferring. Wow.
Leiden throws it away right to Marcanvas Hyman. And now Neal throws it to what he thought was an Ole Miss trailer. Instead, it was Tyler Roberson.
One of the reasons you won't see a lot of fouling today is both teams, right now Ole Miss and man, but both teams play a lot of zone.
Another turnover by Syracuse. Here comes Brooks. He'll cross over, and he will go to the line when we come back with 13:07 to go in the first half. We talked about Andy Kennedy and how in this world of football in the SEC, it is very difficult at times to win. Well, the hardwood meets the gridiron. Fran explains when we return. Ole Miss with the early 3-point lead. Second round of the NIT here at the Carrier Dome. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla here in Syracuse. Syracuse for all time has basically been half basketball, half football, but certainly not the case, you'd have to say, at most schools in the SEC. And here's Fran Fraschilla's look at some of the best basketball coaches at what you would consider to be traditionally football schools.
That's right, and not all of the best, certainly. Andy Kennedy's done a great job. Rick Barnes has always been at football schools, Clemson, Texas, now Tennessee. And you have to check your ego at the door if you're the basketball coach at a football school, because you understand how important football is to the fabric of that university. But it's fabulous to be a basketball coach at a football school because you have great resources. You also have, you have a situation where football dominates the landscape. And if you're pretty good as a basketball coach, you can have a lot of longevity. But you must embrace football as the basketball coach. Shaka Smart, now the coach at Texas. And, you think about what Avery Johnson's doing in Alabama. You can have success, Bob, as long as you understand your place in the landscape at the university.
Well, obviously the world has changed over the last 40 years since Jim Boeheim took the job here at Syracuse. And there's a foul on Rasheed Brooks. But think about what the football tradition was at Syracuse when Jim Boeheim took over the basketball program. You're talking about Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, just the number 44 alone, Larry Zonka. And then all the way through the 80s and into the 90s, there were NFL player after NFL player that played here at Syracuse. Now, in the last 20 years, obviously the football program has taken a big step back, and it really has become a basketball school. But Jim Boeheim, at least for a period of time, lived in that world. Wing jumper comes up short. As Tyus Battle couldn't hit.
When I was an assistant at Ohio State, there was nothing better on a Saturday afternoon in the fall than to bring recruits to a Ohio State football game. It really is a great way to get an idea of the commitment of athletics to a university. It's not the most important part of the university, but it's like the front porch of the house. It's the part you see first.
Tyree gets tied up, throws it away.
Sloppy by Ole Miss. They've had chances to extend this lead.
Frank Howard fouled on a reach-in by Marcanvis Hyman. 5-point lead for Ole Miss. Well, it is an early start. 11 a.m. Jim Boeheim. he might have slept in this morning had he had the option. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla back in Syracuse. There have been some experimental rules tried in the past in the NIT, and the NCAA is doing it again this season. At the midway point of the first half, when the clock gets under 10 minutes, fouls will reset, which means the bonus in each 10-minute segment of the game is 5 team fouls. The 1-and-1, not a factor. They will go to automatic 2 free throws once you foul 5 times. You can see the 20-second shot clock reset part of this as well. So 3 team fouls right now for Ole Miss, 2 for Syracuse. Whether the game is flowing or not, once the clock goes under 10 minutes, Fran, both of those team fouls will set to 0 and will start again. This is a rule that you like as we head, it's seemingly so at least, towards 4 quarters of play.
This is going in the direction of FIBA rules, where at the end of each quarter, because FIBA plays 4 quarters, and by the way, men's college basketball is the only basketball entity right now in the world that doesn't play 4 quarters. I like the idea that when you hit halfway mark, you go back to 0, because that's how it is in FIBA, and that means that the flow of the game is better because you don't have a march to the foul line like you do in college when a team is in the bonus at the 13-minute mark.
Battle tries a 3. That's short. And then a foul called on White. Andrew White was 7 of 9 from 3 on Wednesday night, but he's missed his first 3 today. Now he picks up a personal. Here's one question I would throw at you to play devil's advocate. Eliminating the 1-and-1. which I think is unique to college basketball. I like it. I like late game situations where a team has 7 or 8 team fouls and they have a chance to force a player in a close game to hit the front end of a 1-and-1. You think we lose anything in the college game if we lose that rule?
No, because what you're doing on defense is you're teaching your team not to foul. And so, the 1-and-1 might be an exciting play, but I like the idea if you get to 5, it's automatically two foul shots. And the big thing, Bob, was when you have fouls to give at the end of the half or the end of the game, because you're teaching defense without fouling, you're rewarding the defense. As it stands now with 2 20-minute halves, almost every game you and I cover this year, both teams are in the bonus twice, once in each half. And I think that's too many free throws.
The lob perfect to Torian Thompson. He's had a big first half so far for Syracuse. So what I like really means nothing to you. The 1-and-1.
It means a little, but not that much. Not that much.
I've learned that this year. All right, so as we approach the 10-minute mark here in the first half, you can see Syracuse is in the bonus as Ole Miss has fouled 5 times, but you'll watch the scoreboard as Leiden lines up at 3. And those 3 fouls for Syracuse, 4 for Ole Miss. Well, that should go away in about 7 seconds.
That's it. The clock operator's doing his job.
Is he paying attention?
There he goes.
And there we go. So the foul's now reset to 0 for both teams for the next 10 minutes.
And I like it because now nobody's in the bonus. And now you play defense without fouling. You get rewarded.
Live offensive rebound and a putback.
Well, Ole Miss has really hurt themselves on the offensive end. They were able to extend this lead, and turnovers, missed easy shots. Syracuse right back in it.
The drive is there, throwing it down, Terrence Davis. Well, that's one way to improve your team field goal percentage. He's got 4.
And speaking of improvement, this kid's improved as much as anybody in the SEC this year. Last year he averaged less than 2 points a game. This year, double figures.
Traveling calls on Frank Howard.
And watch Terrence Davis, young man out of South Haven, Mississippi. To the rim, the little ball fake to the corner. And that opened up the lane. And that's something you didn't see a lot in the past from that Syracuse zone. Very stingy. Look at the numbers, Bob. It tells you a lot about how much this young man has worked to improve. And
that's the largest scoring increase for an individual player this year in the SEC.
Yep.
And here he is again, trying a 3. That's in and out. Saiz tries to keep it alive. Fights for the rebound with Leiden. And Leiden won the battle, tipping it to John Gillen. Gillen with a crossover, gives it up. Leiden, he will head to the free throw line. Well, we'll have the Special Olympics World Games opening ceremony live today at 2 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Robin Roberts, Kevin Nagandi, Lindsey Zarniak, Special Olympics Global Messenger Dustin Plunkett host this amazing event. The 3-hour ceremony is presented by Toyota. It can also be seen streaming live on the ESPN app and Watch ESPN.
Yeah, we saw some really beautiful shots from Austria this morning. And what a great event. Special Olympics, always near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. Syracuse Bobbas. Now look at that. And that pass by Tyree trying to thread the needle again. Syracuse has not made a 3 yet.
Tyree from the corner. Saiz was blocked out perfectly by White. Battle. Lost it on the way up.
We mentioned Brian Tyree and Tyus Battle, high school teammates at St. Joe's in Metuchen, a school with an incredible, in recent years, basketball history. Think about Jay Williams. R.J. Williams, who, by the way, is going to go into the College Basketball Hall of Fame in November in Kansas City.
don't know if I would say recent years. Jay's getting old. Neal will drive it. The reverse is there for Cullen Neal. How about that?
Yep. Mentioned Cullen Neal, started his career at New Mexico.
Playing for Dad.
Yep.
Gillen with a crossover and a foul called on Cullen Neal. It's the second round of the NIT. Who will advance to Madison Square Garden? Possibly one of these teams. And the NIT's tradition, it is generational. Fathers and grandfathers passing it on to their sons. Second round of the NIT here at the Carrier Dome. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla here in the first half. We've already had some upsets in the NIT as Cal went down to CSU Bakersfield. 3 number 2 seeds also fall in the first round as Clemson, Houston, and Georgia are all done.
Yeah, and that Belmont team knocked off a good Georgia team at home. They'll try to beat Georgia Tech now on the road as well. Really dangerous team. Hey, guess what happened 20 years ago today? Some guy named, I won't even tell you who he is. All he said is, "I'm back." Michael Jordan.
I remember the 2-word press release.
Exactly. After 3 years, what, 3 years in baseball maybe? 3 years in the minor leagues?
And then if memory serves, as a Knicks fan, he came back and dropped 55 on the Knicks.
See a little 1-3-1 zone here by Ole Miss, and that's one thing you cannot do is foul Andrew White, who not only can make threes at a high rate, but makes his free throws as well.
Well, in ACC play, he made 3.5 threes per game. He was the best three-point shooter in conference play in the ACC, and all he did was drop 7 of them in the win over UNC Greensboro in the first round.
Andrew White started at Kansas. He started his career there, played 2 years for Bill Self. A lot of people don't even remember him, but then really good year at Nebraska a year ago, graduate transfer this year, and right now, Bob, honestly, one of the best shooters in college basketball, the way he finished his career here.
And Andrew White this season has now surpassed Jerry McNamara, who's over on the Syracuse bench as an assistant to Jim Boeheim, for the all-time, keep on scanning left, you'll see him, the all-time, there's Jerry, the all-time three-point shooting leader in a single season in Syracuse history.
I commiserated with Jerry this morning just about that fact. Now in second place. But really, it speaks to the great season Andrew White has had.
Tyree fouled on a reach-in. And it looks like that will be against Andrew White. That'll be his second.
We'll take a look at the numbers. Home and away, obviously a little more comfortable. You talk about a guy that got comfortable shooting in a big dome. He certainly did.
Saiz foul, forces one up to the rim. And that will be a shooting foul. Reach-in called on John Gillen. Did you find that your teams had a big adjustment or had to struggle when they went to a big building?
Yeah, it's unique. I mean, as we said earlier, the depth perception, it's different than being in an arena, normal-sized arena, or a big gymnasium. And, you know, this, of course, this place has been here since 1980. Players that have played here, there have been some great shooters here, obviously, and great performances, but there certainly is a difference. And I think even when you play the NCAA tournament in big domes, studies that have been done that show that the shooting, I think, is not as good.
He scored a couple points in the NBA in his time.
Not a bad shooter at all.
If you'd only play defense to match his offense, maybe the Knicks would have a different fate.
No, I'm not going there.
Did I sound like a bitter New Yorker when I said that? Tyree sets up Saiz for 3. That's way short, but it turns into an alley-oop for Terrence Davis.
Hey, does he know who Derek Wittenberg is? Former NC State star? Yeah, Saiz will shoot a handful. That is not his strength. Yeah, this is good now. You got to take Andrew White and run him off the line and make him make tough twos. Cannot give him rhythm threes.
At 3 is there for Frank Howard. Finally, Syracuse hits a three after missing their first 9. Fade away is off the mark from our canvas Hyman, and then Sebastian Saiz goes over the back.
Let's take you back to the Wayback Machine right here. Shot, air ball, then the finish inside. That looked like, that did look like Derek Wittenberg. Sebastian Saiz out of Madrid, Spain. I watched him 4 years ago. He played on the Spanish under-19 team in the World Championships. He's made a long trek from home to prep school in Wichita at Sunrise Christian to a really good career at Ole Miss. When I watched him play 4 years ago in Prague in the Czech Republic, that USA team had on it. You ready for this? Marcus Smart, Jaleel Okafor, Justice Winslow, and some others. Elfrid Payton, a lottery pick, now playing in the NBA.
They only traveled about 5,400 miles to end up in Oxford from where he began in Madrid.
And Spanish players traditionally have not utilized coming to the States to play in the NCAA. By and large, those kids turn pro and play in the Spanish ACB league, one of the best leagues in the world. But he's had a great experience, and if he's not an NBA player, he'll have a very good long career in the ACB.
Nice drive by Frank Howard. He's got the last 5 for Syracuse.
You remember, Frank Howard had played very little in the month of February, and he was a big catalyst in that win over UNC Greensboro on Wednesday night. And Jim Boeheim, when we were up here earlier this season, has high hopes for him next season.
Brooks can't hit the 3. The back tap ends up being taken back by Brooks. Whips a pass to Marcanvas Hyman, but then that bounce pass to no one, looking for Firminovic on the cut. Well, tonight our NBA Saturday primetime game presented by Verizon Wireless on ABC as LeBron and the Eastern leading Cavs taking on CP3 in LA. Blake Griffin and the Clippers as well. Our coverage tips with NBA Countdown presented by Straight Talk Wireless at 8. As always, you can see it streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
Of course, you weren't born when Dave Bing was in his prime, but some people feel the greatest Syracuse Orange ever. Hall of Fame career for the Detroit Pistons and a backcourt teammate of Jim Boeheim, who, by the way, has been at Syracuse University since 1962. Think about that, 54 years. 55 coming up, right?
Rasheed Brooks hit the side of the backboard.
A lot of empty possessions for Ole Miss, and yet they trail only by 2. Turnovers, missed easy opportunities at the rim.
Light straight away for 3. Yes.
Well, Tyra Lydon was out here at about 8:30 this morning, bright and early, getting shots up. Haven't fallen early for him until now. Shows you that range.
We're back in 30 to Syracuse.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the NIT is brought to you by Utah Life Elevated. Plan your vacation at visitutah.com.
Really good crowd has shown up here at the Carrier Dome today for round 2 of the NIT, as they expected close to 10,000. 3.5 minutes to go, and you can see the fouls. They're low for a reason, in case you're just joining us. Experimental rules in the National Invitation Tournament. The NCAA sometimes likes to try out different rules that could then be employed in all of college basketball in the NIT. And when the clock went under 10 minutes in the first half, the team fouls reset. So now we're back to 4 for Ole Miss, 2 for Syracuse. When they get to 5, then that's the bonus, and it's an automatic 2 shots.
And the flow of the game, to me, Bob, is better. I like it. And of course, I'm used to FIBA rules, so I like that as well. But And if Syracuse doesn't foul, they'll have a couple to give down the stretch. And the only way anybody shot a free throw today is earn it inside.
Tyler Lydon earned those two inside. And Syracuse up to a 7-point lead. Over 7 minutes without a field goal for Ole Miss. Line drive three wouldn't go for DeAndre Burnett.
That's a little fake here by Lydon. A little jab, go. That's what we call a rip through right there. Rip that ball low and go. It's a rip through move.
Howard with the left hand.
Good minutes by Frank Howard, the sophomore. Played a lot last year in that Final Four team. Look how long the zone is now. Howard in battle at the top and nothing inside for Ole Miss until
Neal
that basket.
forced it inside, right at the rim. A putback is good for Terrence Davis after he missed the first.
That's been one Achilles heel for Syracuse this year. Not a good defensive rebounding team. And Ole Miss needs to go to school on that because they've spent too much time spent on the perimeter. You got to get the ball inside versus that zone.
Hand check on Cullen Neal. That's Neal's third. You can catch every moment of the 2017 NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament on the ESPN family of networks. For more information, visit ncaa.com. Your home for all 90 NCAA championships as the women's tournament continues today. And it's amazing the lack of upsets. There was one numerical seed upset in the first round of the women's tournament, and all 16 of the top 4 seeds in the men's tournament make it through first round play as well. I mean, normally, and I know the women's game could be much more top heavy than the men's game, there's always at least a couple of first round seed over seed upsets in the women's tournament. We haven't not even had any of those this year.
I think on the men's side, it's going to set up for some really, really good round of 32 and round of 16 matchups because so many of the top teams are left. And, you know, when you get past the first round upsets, the Cinderella stories, you want to see the best teams go head to head. You know, UCLA and Kentucky are going to meet in an elite, I think, is it a Sweet 16 matchup if they both advance. So I like it.
White to the corner. Here's Howard. Lydon, offensive rebound. And the putback. He never comes off the floor.
How about that? He and White are iron men.
Hyman swings one outside. Burnett adds a three and another big shot for Ole Miss. Back-to-back threes for the Rebels, has them within 5.
Well, you know, Bob, he got really hot in that Monmouth game in the second half.
You can see number 4 against number 25 there. Brian Tyree squaring off against his old high school teammate Tyus Battle. And Jim Boeheim unhappy with that last 3 given up. Just as we went to break, you saw Tyus Battle with the basketball, guarded by Brian Tyree. Those two, high school teammates for a year at St. Joe's Metuchen in New Jersey. And talk about a basketball lineage. As you said, even in just recent years, you're talking about NBA All-Stars that have gone to St. Joe's Metuchen.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns becoming one of the best players in the league. And there's another Tyree connection. His cousin David Tyree of Super Bowl fame, the great catch for the New York Giants, played right here at Syracuse. So Brian's home. He told me yesterday he's got family here, his high school coach. Interesting story about how he got to Ole Miss as well.
Howard is blocked. Live beats the timer, but couldn't make the bunny. Here comes Terrence Davis, and with a foul to give, smart play by Tyus Battle. That's only the third Syracuse foul. They even have one more foul to give, and with 7.4 seconds to go in the half.
That's why if you don't foul, you save it. You know, Brian Tyree, Andy Kennedy said we tried to recruit him because he had a couple of guys from St. Joe's who went to the SEC, Carl Towns and Wade Baldwin.
DeAndre Burnett fouled shooting a three. Jim Boeheim wants that foul to be called on the floor. As he knows his team had a foul to give, they tried to give it.
Yeah, very lucky right there. Carl Hess, let's take a look. Why don't you come off the screen, and boy, I'll tell you what.
That's a shooting foul.
I think that ball is going up into the shooting motion. Jim Boeheim got lucky that the referee was right by his bench.
The ball knows.
Ball don't lie.
DeAndre Burnett knew he should have been shooting foul shots, so why not just knock down a three to end the first half and give us a 2-point game at halftime?
Ball don't lie. Basketball gods reward you sometimes when life is unfair.
Well, there's some homework to do here at the NIT. We'll do it during halftime. 2-point game as we'll head back to the studio. Who's going to make it to the Garden? Maybe Ole Miss or Syracuse. If you'd like to know why Syracuse postponed their first-round game from Tuesday to Wednesday this week, we'll look no further than outside the Carrier Dome. It was a blizzard earlier this week. Nice day outside, though, today inside the Carrier Dome. Good end of the first half. Bob Wischusen and Fran Fraschilla just about set for the start of the second half. Although Syracuse in the NIT doesn't happen often under Jim Boeheim. 32 times they've been to the NCAA tournament. Last year, of course, to the Final Four. This year, you can make an argument they were literally the 69th team, right on the bubble, and missed out. What were your thoughts?
I thought they deserved not to go. And I know it was close, and you could obviously split hairs with Wake Forest, Kansas State, and others. 2-11 on the road, no really quality road wins, some bad home losses, some good home wins. And this is an interesting comparison that we put up here. This NIT team is pretty comparable with the team that got to the Final Four. Now, Benajay is in the NBA as a role player. Trevor Cooney could shoot it. But when you think of Andrew White, the emergence of Battle as a freshman, Tyler Lydon, there's not that much difference between a team trying to get to New York in the NIT Finals and the team that went to the Final Four last year, when a lot of people thought at that time on Selection Sunday they didn't deserve to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we did the radio show on Sunday night. I know you were on television. We talked about Syracuse this year. Obviously, some really good wins. They've got wins against the top 20, but those 5 losses, not only 4 against the top 125 or so, but you've got a loss to Boston College outside the top 200. We'll talk more about this as the second half progresses, but Syracuse not in the tournament, probably the most debated topic of Selection Sunday, just about set for the start of the second half against Ole Miss. Welcome back to the Dome. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla, just about set for the start of the second half. Second round action of the NIT. Ole Miss ended the first half on an 11-4 run. And Fran, Syracuse missed some opportunities in the first half to have maybe an even bigger lead.
It was not raining threes for Andrew White in the first half, but Tyler Lydon 1 rebound away from a double-double, 14-9, getting it done both outside and at the rim. And then at the end of the first half, you remember this? This looked like a shooting foul. They had a foul to give Syracuse, waved it off, took it out of bounds. DeAndre Burnett said, okay, ball don't lie. Basketball gods rewarded him. He hit that deep three, and they're within 2.
Over half the team's scoring comes from the combination of Terrence Davis and DeAndre Burnett. Lydon with a 1 more rebound would post his 9th double-double of the season. Very quiet first half, though, for Sebastian Saiz. We'll see if he ends up being more of a factor in the second half. Tyree.
Tough shot.
And the long rebound ends up with John Gillen.
Remember what we said, if you're Ole Miss, play through the paint first.
Skip past to Battle. In and out for 3. Torian Thompson, though, fighting with Firmanovicius underneath. And it looks like Eustace Firmanovicius just picked up another foul.
Well, this Syracuse team this year, Bob, you know, some people rely on one-and-dones, the freshman style.
This is in reverse.
This is reverse. Andrew White, Gillen, they've been a barometer all year, and John Gillen only 2 points, 2 assists that first half. But Mike Hopkins, the associate head coach, said when he plays really well, we are very good. This guy's been consistent most of the year.
White can't hit the 3, but there's the double-double on the offensive rebound by Tyler Lydon. So he has a double-double, but turned it over. And that's out of bounds off Tyus Battle.
Yeah, I thought the first half, Ole Miss, 9 turnovers. That really hurt them. If they can cut down those mistakes, and they're going to have a chance to stay in this game.
Davis gives them the lead. That's the first lead for Ole Miss since we played 6.5 minutes of the first half.
Really good ball screen execution versus the zone. It forced that top guard to come over and help. And Davis wide open.
The Cuse led by as many as 9 in the first half. Lydon collapsed, and Saiz takes it away. Burnett for 3. Ole Miss extends their lead. And it's a timeout for Jim Boeheim. And he storms out on the floor to seek out Andrew White. And the rest of the Orange players heading to the bench. Back-to-back threes for the Rebels. They've got a 4-point lead.
Good execution. Ball screen, bring the defender over to help, leave the wide open wing, and we got ourselves a potential upset.
Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla back at the Carrier Dome. Fran takes us inside the play.
This is why ball screening a zone can be effective right now. Take a look. They're going to screen John Gillen. Andrew White on the backside. He's got a decision to make. Do I take the corner shooter or do I take the wing shooter? Battle is late, and Andrew White is singing, "Should I stay or should I go now?"
Which you should not ever sing again.
But that was a great way to create a 2-on-1 on the opposite side of the floor with 2 shooters and 1 defender.
Now, Battle was the player up at the top of the zone hedging on the ball screen. What's his responsibility?
He's got to leave earlier than he did, no doubt, Bob.
Now a turnover. A chance for Ole Miss to extend their lead. Right out of the timeout, Syracuse gives it away. Burnett for 3. Lydon with the rebound. This foul, though, it looks like will go against Lydon.
Firmanovicius inside, banging with Lydon. Saiz so as well. Saiz.
That's the second on Lydon. Burnett plays one back to the corner. Tyree couldn't hit, but Firmanovicius keeps it alive. Tyree, old school floater. Furmanovicius with an offensive rebound, looking for help on the perimeter.
Good ball movement, good ball movement.
And eventually a three is buried by Terrence Davis. Hard work in basketball from Ole Miss, and they've got a 7-point lead. What a turnaround since Syracuse led by 9 in the first half.
And a little bit of half-court press now. 2-2-1, they'll flow back to the 2-3.
Dorian Thompson couldn't hit. Trying to box out was DeAndre Burnett. They got him for a foul.
Yeah, watch this effort now. Inside, the ball movement. We get it done on the offensive glass. Furmanovicius. Here comes Tyree, tries to hit the floater. More Furmanovicius. Youngster from Kaunas, Lithuania. You know how much they love basketball? Knock it down right there. Lithuania, Bob, get a little history lesson here.
I'm excited.
Geography. Country of 3 million people. And boy, they love their basketball.
Dorian Thompson, sweet fadeaway. Syracuse needed that bucket. He's in double figures now for the 18th time this season. A steal by Thompson.
And that's what Ole Miss has got to stay away from. They were very sloppy in the first half.
Each team now with 10 turnovers. But they get 11 for Syracuse as Andrew White traveled. Well, the NCAA Women's Championship presented by Capital One continues at 3:30 Eastern today on ESPN2 with more first-round games. Tennessee, part of that group, in action this afternoon. Check local listings for the game in your area. And all are streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
It's all about who can knock off UConn. Oh, that's a good deep post.
Saiz lost it on the way up.
Good execution again, Bud.
Good hustle by Terrence Davis, though. Couldn't take it away, though, from Andrew White. Leiden allows the flyby. Extra pass to Battle. No good on the floater. The ball left in no man's land. It ties Battle, the only player hustling. White for three. In and out. He still can't make it three.
Tough day. Tough pass.
Furmanovicius got caught under the rim.
Yeah, not a good decision by DeAndre Burnett. You'd have to be David Tyree to make that catch.
Battle. Yes.
Well, Syracuse getting it done without the 3 ball today. Andrew White 0 for 5, but they're getting it done inside.
Saiz spins, lost it again. White tries to go coast to coast.
Timeout time.
Andy Kennedy will do just that. It's been a game of runs. Syracuse led by 9 in the first half. Ole Miss with a big comeback. They took the lead, still have the lead, but Syracuse makes it a 1-point game. Crowd here at the Carrier Dome has seen some close ones this year, and mainly the reason they thought they should have been in the NCAA tournament. Some of those dramatic wins against Florida State, for instance. They followed up against number 9 Virginia, winning by 4 on February 4th. A 4-point loss in overtime to Louisville back in mid-February was followed by a John Gillen buzzer beater. 78-75 win on February 22nd against Duke. And it's because of some of those big wins that Jim Boeheim made the argument that if it's about winning big games, why was Syracuse left out of the NCAA tournament field? Talked a little bit about that at halftime. The bad losses obviously caught up with the cue, so Saiz hits the underside of the rim and does it again. He'll try a third time and score.
Really good job right there by Saiz to stay with it. Thought we had a goaltending too, basket interference when that ball was up on the rim and Syracuse player put his hand through the net.
Skip pass to Battle for 3. That ties the game.
Tyus Battle, last part of the season, about 18 points a game, Bob, and he's one of those players next year in college basketball who will burst out. I predict he'll be an ACC all-first-team player a year from now. Tremendous talent.
Cullen Neal from the corner puts Ole Miss back on top, and they'll need him to. This is arguably the deepest conference in college basketball. But if Tyus Battle doesn't emerge in that way, you wonder how good this Syracuse team will be next year.
Well, I'll tell you, if Lydon comes back, which he should, Torian Thompson and Battle, it's a very impressive group to start with.
Gillen's pass to the corner was deflected and stolen by Davis. Neal sizes up Lydon and draws the contact. Smart play by Cullen Neal as he leaned in and got Lydon to commit the foul.
Mom and Dad enjoying it. There you see Noodles Neal on the left, former Georgia Tech star. Of course, he played in the NBA, now the head coach at the University of New Mexico. And when Cullen Neal decided to transfer from New Mexico, and it was an ugly situation out there, death threats, young man that played his high school basketball there, then he would play for his dad for 2 years.
Which is beyond ridiculous.
Well, it is. I coached there. I could write a book about that, but that's neither here nor there. But here's the deal. When he was going to transfer, Noodles Neal and Andy Kennedy have had a long friendship going back to Andy Kennedy being a great high school player in Alabama. And one of the schools he visited was Georgia Tech. Bobby Kremen's coaching there, and his host on the visit was Noodles Neal. And so they've had this long friendship, and when Cullen decided to transfer, by the way, he graduated from the University of New Mexico in 3 years. So he's a graduate transfer, but only a junior, and he's got 1 more year at Ole Miss, and it's worked out well. Started some, really gives you good offense, and coach's kid, as we saw in that last drive.
If you lay your head down on the pillow at night, and at some point during the day, in advance of laying your head down on the pillow at night, you sent a death threat to a college basketball player,
yeah,
hopefully you'll wake up the next morning and realize you need a whole new life.
Tough place to coach. I'll put it that way. It's
Neal
a tough
for
place
three.
to coach. Nice tip.
Tap in is there for Marcanvas Hyman.
Yeah, good effort by Hyman. He really is a solid role player. Been pretty good down the stretch of the season for the Rebels.
Howard shovels one to the wing. Battle. Short. And a weak side rebound to Rasheed Brooks.
Good job by Ole Miss of forcing those jump shots.
Brooks for three.
Bank shot.
Not quite. Long rebound to Frank Howard. Howard gives it up. White draws the foul. Andrew White made 7 threes in the win over UNC Greensboro in the first round. He's 0 for 5 from 3 in this game, but scorers know how to get their points, and he has scored today at the line, and now he gets himself right back there.
Easily one of the best shooters in college basketball this season, Bob, and 0 for 5 is like a 350 hitter going 0 for 5. You know, it's just a matter of time before he'll get going.
Permanovicius, by the way, picks up his third, so he heads back to the bench.
Yeah, Andy Kennedy's done a nice job of international recruiting. Spain, Lithuania.
Well, you cover obviously the Big 12 for a long time. When Andrew White was at Kansas, where he began his career, did you think he'd become this kind of a scorer, averaging 18 and a half in the ACC?
I thought if he stayed at Kansas, he would have been a very good player as a junior and senior. Yes, because when you think about Bill Self and all the players that start out slow and stay over 4 years, like Frank Mason, like Devontae Graham, like Landon Lucas.
He develops players.
I thought he would have been a really good player his junior and senior year. You know, wanted to go play right away, went to Nebraska, had a good year for Tim Miles, and then surprised everybody at Nebraska by leaving after he graduated.
Burnett to the corner. Shot clock down to 5. It will stay with Ole Miss. And on a kick, Ole Miss gets some extra time on the shot clock.
Remember the ball screen now. There it is. There it is.
5 to shoot. Brooks swamped under. Gets it back. Can't beat the timer. Excellent defensive possession by Syracuse. as they force the shot clock violation. Terrence Davis back in for Rasheed Brooks for the Rebels.
You get to this point in the year, if you're a player, even if you're not in the big dance, you just want to keep playing and winning games. And both of these teams with a chance to go to New York City and play in the Garden.
White allows the flyby. That's a long two. It still won't go from the outside for Andrew White.
Nice.
Saiz running the floor, but good hands by Frank Howard. It'll stay with Ole Miss when we come back. We talked about Andrew White, what his prospects are potentially to play at the next level. He has had a heck of an orange and white season, and Fran will talk about that when we return. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla, learning more about Andrew White in one of our real stories, brought to you by Principal Financial Group. A player that was third-team All-ACC this season after heading from Kansas, then to Nebraska, and now to Syracuse as a grad transfer. And in 1 year, Fran, here at the Carrier Dome, 18.5 points a game, top 5 scorer in the ACC. And you can see the points per game taking a major leap from Nebraska and then to Syracuse. Now he has his basketball future to look forward to. What do you think that future holds?
I think at this point, honestly, he's a marginal NBA player. He certainly has elite skill to shoot the basketball, and that's going to give him a really close look. But he's going to make money, whether it's in the D-League or overseas, and there's always a possibility of him being the type of role player like a Danny Green in San Antonio or a team like Houston that values the three ball. The ability to defend will be an issue, handle the ball, but no doubt the one skill he's got that helps is the shooting.
Tyus Battle tried to give it up. A scramble for it at midcourt. Nice hustle play by Frank Howard. Battle gets a chance to drive it again, and he gets to hang from the rim. It's a one-point game.
Just keep an eye on this guy. I mean, if you're in the ACC, you know how good he is and how good he will be. But the only thing that slowed him down was being a freshman early and then the flu a couple times later on in the season. But he will be a star next year.
Davis hits a three. Terrence Davis with that triple. Extends the Ole Miss lead back to 4.
Terrence Davis shows you why, as you mentioned earlier, he was one of the most improved players in the SEC as he had a game today.
Largest year-over-year scoring increase in the league.
A little bit of it's not a box and one, but they're definitely shading Andrew White out of that zone. Watch how high up Davis will come.
5 to shoot. Thompson picks up his dribble. 1 to shoot. Battle beats the timer, comes up short. And as we approach the under 10-minute mark here in the first half, as Davis will go to the line. A reminder, new rules being experimented with in the NIT by the NCAA, and we will reset the team fouls when the clock goes under 10 minutes. So 3 team fouls right now for Syracuse, 4 for Ole Miss. Again, in the first 10 minutes of each half, and the last 10 minutes obviously. 5 fouls gets you to the bonus. So another foul in the next 14 seconds by Ole Miss would be 2 free throws for Syracuse, but when the clock hits 9:59, the foul's 0 out. And that's a rule, by the way, Fran, that you have said you think is coming for full-scale play in college basketball.
They should just go to 4 quarters, you know, and make it universal. It makes sense, and I like that particular rule. It's great for the flow of the game. You don't see as many trips to the foul line.
Thompson with exactly 10 minutes, now 9:59 to go in the half. We'll head to the line for an and one.
The interesting thing about that foul is because it happened at 9:59, that should be the first team foul for Ole Miss. But
instead, both fouls 0 out. Nope, now they put 1 up for Ole Miss. You're exactly right. It was literally as the clock went from 10 minutes to 9:59. So Ole Miss in the last 10 minutes now does have the first team foul.
You just watch those white shirts and how high Ryden and Andrew White come out. That's why you have to get the ball inside. That's a long shot right there.
And it's on target for Terrence Davis.
How about that? So much for getting the ball inside.
He's over 20 for the... As White has his pass deflected out of bounds. And the officials will say it's off Lydon.
Boy, take a look now. This has been, what a performance by Terrence Davis today. 5 threes. One of the good things that you like about him, he was 8th in the SEC in conference play and scoring. Tendency to get in foul trouble. That's really hurt him this year. But so far today, he's managed to stay out of foul trouble.
And red hot the last 10 games to end the season, and he is now in double figures in 18 of the last 21 for Ole Miss.
This is that point in an NIT game where you have to decide whether you want to keep playing or put the balls away, and that's what faces Syracuse here the last 9 minutes.
Jump hook by Saiz. Ends up with Tyus Battle.
Really good hands right there to get that ball deflected. Ole Miss done a nice job today, Bob, of changing defenses. Various zones, they switch in and out of zones.
Battle knocks down a 3.
Yep. He shot 37% on the season. And the way he played down the stretch of the season for Jim Boeheim, mark it down. He'll be first team all ACC next year.
Saiz, nice up and under. Tried to give it up though. Defended well by Lydon. Battle leans in, plus the foul.
Had a chance to spend time with Tyus Battle when he was a junior in high school at the Steph Curry Under Armour camp. And one thing he's always had is a great motor. The shooting's improved, the athleticism is there. And Cuse fans have seen glimpses this season of what lies ahead.
Can't complete the three-point play, and now Thompson gives a cheap foul, but Battle is in double figures for the 7th consecutive game. That's the first team foul on Syracuse in the last 10 minutes.
The last 6 for Tyus Battle, almost 18 points a game, and you can see why based on what we've seen today.
DeAndre Burnett back in as Breon Tyree goes to the bench, and that's the 3rd on Thompson.
You know, now the question that Jim Boeheim asked himself for the last 30 years is, can they keep making these threes and beat us? Because we're not changing our defense.
Shot clock didn't move. So now Wally Ratecki has to go over to the scorer's table to make sure the shot clock is correct. 5 seconds comes off the timer.
Most teams cannot beat you shooting the long ball over 40 minutes.
Davis is going to try. Wow. Terrence Davis on fire. He's got 27, and he's made 6 of 7 from 3.
The inexperience of the Syracuse zone no longer an excuse, because these guys have been in it all season.
Battle tries to answer, and does. Burnett, clear lane to the basket. Thompson comes away holding his hip as he was walled off by Saiz.
Saiz did a really good job of just creating that angle, as you pointed out.
That floater comes up short for Howard. Burnett, rather Davis, coast to coast. He'll shoot 2 when we come back. Leiden commits the foul. Terrence Davis will try and add to a 27-point day when we come back. Jim Boeheim didn't seem particularly thrilled with his team early on, but Tyus Battle's gotten him back in the game. 15 points for Tyus Battle. He leads Syracuse. They still trail by 3.
Big game here for the freshman out of New Jersey. Been everywhere today. You love the athleticism, shooting the ball. There's the athlete right there. Top 40 players in the country a year ago. He originally verbally committed to the University of Michigan. Backed off that, and we've seen glimpses of greatness today. And how about Kenneth Davis? 27, not a career high. He dropped 33 on LSU this year, but he's been impressive, Bob.
Well, talking to Andy Kennedy back earlier this season about Terrence Davis, they talked about the fact that athletically he is at a different level than maybe anybody else on their team. He was a wide receiver in high school, and there were some American Conference teams that recruited him as a football player. So it wasn't just until he got to Ole Miss he even thought just about basketball. He was thinking about being a 2-sport player if he had gone somewhere else. That's the kind of athlete he was in high school.
You know, focusing on basketball this year has really helped him, obviously, because he's really come out of nowhere. A little 1-3-1 now. And they do a lot of different things. Right now they're face guarding Gillen. Oh, that's a good defensive possession.
Shot clock at 13 as Battle spots up.
Well, Davis and Burnett can both heat up. Burnett was a catalyst in that win in Central Jersey over Monmouth early in the week.
Saiz, yes.
He did a nice job of just flashing into that elbow area. Good find by Burnett, the Miami transfer. 1-3-1, but they'll morph out of this back to 2-3 sometimes. They give you a lot of different looks.
Gillen with the extra pass. And it works out perfectly as Andrew White has his first perimeter jumper of the day. Finally hits a 3.
Got to pick your poison if you're Andy Kennedy. But that's one guy you cannot leave. History proves that.
With the left hand,
wow.
Terrence Davis does it again. Knocking on the door of 30.
I love the way he got right into the middle of the zone, Bob, and carves it up. Winner hosts on Tuesday night.
A career high for Terrence Davis. The lob, Torian Thompson able to finish. Good look from Gillen.
No, it's not the best zone defense I've ever seen, but Ole Miss has tried to confuse Syracuse today, and that time Gillen with a good find inside.
Shot clock down to 5. Tyree for 3. Way up in the air, Firminovic for the rebound. Beaten to it, though, by Thompson.
Two-three zone. Gillen thinking about it.
Leiden, double clutch. Saiz has the rebound. His 9th of the day. Tyree has his pocket picked by Gillen, and Saiz gives the smart foul. Gillen was off to the races. If Saiz didn't reach in, you can catch every moment of the 2017 NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament on the ESPN family of networks. For more information, go to ncaa.com. Your home for all 90 NCAA championships.
Now Saiz that time with the smart, what we call the international foul.
That's his 3rd.
Yep, gave it at midcourt, stopped the basket, and the freshman, Tyree, has got to be more judicious with his decision-making.
Gillen sets up White. We are tied.
Matter of time.
Cullen Neal breaks the tie from the corner.
Well, Andy Kennedy has had a tremendous game plan today for the 2-3 zone. And you have to make the shots, Bob, but you got to put your players in position to make them.
White from NBA range has another.
May not be snowing, Bob, but it's raining again.
Burnett. Wow! We are trading bullets. And Andy Kennedy races up the sideline. Says, I have to slow this game down in spite of the fact that Ole Miss is up by 3. Either Ole Miss or Syracuse will be one win away from the Garden. It's a shootout to see who's going to get there. Bob Wischusen and Fran Fraschilla back at the Carrier Dome, where it is a three-point barrage. 22 combined threes between Ole Miss and Syracuse.
Yeah, I wasn't sure Ole Miss could beat Syracuse with the long ball, but they've got 14 today. And then Andrew White, only a matter of time for the all-time single-season Syracuse three-point record on, of course, DeAndre Burnett. They have some guys like Davis and Burnett, Cullen Neal, who can really fill it, Bob. And they have certainly done that. Look at the shooting in the second half both ways.
Well, Syracuse specifically, 6 of 14 in the second half, a major improvement. And White specifically was 0 for his first 6, but he's made his last 3 in a row.
Little man-to-man right now by Ole Miss. Been in a variety of defenses today, mostly zone.
Gillen on the drive. He'll shoot 2.
Smart move by Gillen. Now Cullen Neal does some really good stuff. Defending the ball, not his strength, and Gillen saw it, took advantage of it, got right to the rim. Watch Gillen here, holds good body control by Gillen just to get a good look and a chance at 3.
That's the 4th foul on Cullen Neal. First trip to the line today for Gillen. He averages nearly 11 points a game, so under his per-game production by a long shot.
Well, he's been hot and cold all season, and he's been red hot a number of times. Interesting, Bob, per the experimental rules, Syracuse with only 2 fouls and 2 to give.
Saeed seals inside and scores.
Oh, good find. Torian Thompson took the gamble, tried to steal it. Burnett threaded the needle.
Gillen allows the flyby and sets up Thompson. Beautiful basketball from the Orange. 2.5 minutes to go.
Now John Gillen, well, reluctant to shoot the 3, so he drove it. And he did a nice job of gapping that ball with his dribble. Team's trying to turn Mark's sadness, Bob, into little Mark's gladness.
Saiz finds the loose one. Too strong. A chance for Syracuse to tie or take the lead. Coming up on 2 minutes to go.
Back to the zone, 2-3 zone. Somebody's going to get an open look here.
Tyler Lydon falling away, throws one up on the rim, and a foul is called by Carl Hess. That is going to put Tyler Lydon at the free throw line to try and tie it up. And as the foul is called on Terrence Davis, that's his second.
Watch Lydon right here with the circus shot. He fell down. He stepped on the defender's foot. Wow.
And Davis still called for the foul.
Wow.
And Lydon, an 85% free throw shooter. In the last 14 games, Tyler Lydon has been subbed for 1 time by Jim Boeheim. He never comes off the floor. 1-point lead for Ole Miss, coming up on a minute and a half to go.
There's that ball screen. 2-on-1 on the weak side. Good job by Battle to get over.
Shot clock at 5. Burnett for 3.
Whoa!
Knocks it down straight away. And it's a 4-point lead for Ole Miss. For the answer. Short for Gillen. The rebound to Saiz. 4 points and a minute to go for Ole Miss, trying to pull off an upset here at the Dome. And a foul given at midcourt by Gillen.
That was a great possession by Ole Miss. They used most of the clock. And then, you know what? When the play breaks down, a player's got to go make a play, and that's what Burnett did, and Davis has done it as well. And that's only the 3rd foul of this segment, so 1 more to give for Syracuse. But I would press hard and try to steal it before I just give a foul. That's right.
Battle is called for the foul. He thought that he had done just, Fran, what you were saying to attempt to do, and beaten DeAndre Burnett to the spot. You can play aggressively with the foul to give, but is this just good defense?
It's good. No, it's a foul, but I like the gamble they took because they had one to give anyway.
Hermanovicius is fouled by Battle on the reach-in, and that will put him at the line to shoot 2.
We were right in front of it, Bob. I'd love to see it again. I do think he got armed from where we were. Take a look right now. Where I see my monitor, what'd you see?
On the wrist?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough call. Hermanovicius, a 62% free throw shooter.
Ball don't lie. He missed it.
He's got 1. 5-point lead.
2-3 zone. You got to move it side to side. Somebody will get an open look.
Gillen with a crossover. Back outside to Battle. He leans in for 2. It's a 1-possession game. Jim Boeheim calls timeout. And Jim Boeheim wants a piece of Carl Hess as his team gathers for the timeout. And Jim Boeheim is walking all the way to the scorer's table to track down Carl Hess.
That's interesting. There's no way Jim Boeheim's getting the technical at home in the NIT. That's for sure. Or at least he'd have to really earn it. You see, the one thing you knew that Syracuse would be aggressive. Battle fouled earlier, so in the officials' mind, they're thinking that Syracuse is going to foul and stop the clock.
But you shouldn't necessarily anticipate that. Take away the ability of a team's advantage with fouls to give, to play aggressive defense, not fearing to foul, but anticipating and giving the foul when you make a good defensive play.
Completely agree. I'm just telling you what the mindset is of the official.
And I'm sure that's exactly what Jim Boeheim is saying. Hey, we're not trying to foul.
Yeah.
Even if we have fouls to give. Is again, Syracuse Ole Miss, the winner of this game, will be a host team on Tuesday night against either Georgia Tech or Belmont in this portion of the NIT bracket. Still alive is Colorado State, bottom of the bracket. And 2 of those 8 teams that you just saw will get to Madison Square Garden.
Now, Ole Miss has been a high turnover team this year. Syracuse, when they press, they usually do a good job. This will be key for Ole Miss to handle the ball.
Neal gets it into Saiz, gets it back. Well done. Terrence Davis over to Burnett.
If you're Syracuse, you're going to have to foul.
And Cullen Neal finally is fouled by Andrew White.
Cullen Neal, the wrong guy to foul, if you can help it. But as I've said to you often during the year, sometimes you have no choice. The clock's more of your enemy than the 88% foul shooter is. Dad has watched a lot of games that Cullen Neal has played. A tremendous high school scorer.
Woo! Half minute to go. 5-point lead. Leiden for three. The long rebound. Unable to save it in the corner is John Gillen. And it will go over to Ole Miss. And the Rebels are 16 seconds away from playing in Oxford to try and get to Madison Square Garden. Again, second round action of the NCAA Division I men's basketball championship continues today. CBS, TBS, and TNT. And Syracuse gives the foul. Nope, check that. Stepping out of bounds is Ole Miss with 12 seconds to go.
Tyree was trying to do the smart thing by dribble out some clock, and then inadvertently and somewhat inexplicably, the freshman stepped on the line. That opens the door here, but you got to go quick. You probably need a three here.
Battle for three. That won't go. Ole Miss is going to head home, one win away from Madison Square Garden as they upset Syracuse here at the Carrier Dome in the second round of the NIT.
Andy Kennedy has a win here as the coach at Cincinnati, and today he adds a second one.
The first ever meeting between these two schools, and Ole Miss, Fran, did exactly what you wondered if they could do. They shot their way into the quarterfinals of the NIT, making 15 threes to get past Syracuse.
They did a terrific job, Bob, not only of making the shots, but Andy Kennedy really set up a really good game plan to create those scoring opportunities.
And how about how this program has moved forward under Andy Kennedy? He is a two-time SEC Coach of the Year. He's got a 22-win season. This is their 8th postseason appearance, 7 NITs, and a couple of times in the NCAA tournament. Prior to Andy Kennedy taking over at Ole Miss, they had been to 12 postseasons in 96 years. So he has taken this program to a different place, and one of the reasons joining us here at the table, Terrence Davis. Not too bad. You dropped 30 on Syracuse here in the Carrier Dome. How does this feel for this program to now get home, a chance to get to Madison Square Garden?
That's what it's all about. You know, getting home is a great opportunity for us. We get to, battle and make our chance to, Madison Square Garden.
Hey, before I ask you about the zone and what you did today, I got to know how you improved so much from your freshman year to your sophomore year as really one of the most improved players in the SEC in the country. What'd you do?
I just stayed down and worked every day. I didn't want to settle because I didn't really play much last year. As I was sitting on the bench, it was just going through my mind like, I can play with these guys. So I just continued to work.
I thought Coach had a really good game plan versus the zone today. The ball screen, you've done that all year. How long did it take for the confidence to grow playing against that defense?
It just took a couple shots to go in. Once you see the ball go in, basketball is really a rhythm game. Once you see the ball go in, you catch a rhythm. It's kind of hard to, get out of that rhythm.
You were a guy that almost decided to go to a smaller school, maybe play football and basketball. Now you head to Ole Miss, become a basketball-only emerging star in the SEC. Congratulations, 30 points. We'll see you in Oxford on Tuesday.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a million. That is Terrence Davis. He obviously is the hero today for Ole Miss. 30 points as they beat Syracuse. For Fran Fraschilla, I'm Bob Wischusen. So long from the Carrier Dome. A win for Ole Miss in the NIT.